Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, area director, most welcome guests. In 2001, the world champion of public speaking, which is the pinnacle of Toastmasters, 4 million Toastmasters, 30,000 clubs, and one winner. In 2001, that was Darren LaCroix, and I listened to his life story afterwards. He said when the first time he spoke, he went to a comedy club, no one laughed, he bombed, but he decided at that moment he wasn't giving up. He joined 10 Toastmaster clubs. He used to go in the morning, lunchtime, and in the evening, driving 50 miles, 50 kilometers in America. After I heard that, I thought, well, COVID had started, so it was around 2021. It was easier for me. I joined 3 clubs because all the clubs went online, for those of us who remember. So I could just sit on my computer and I joined 3 clubs. I didn't have to drive anywhere. By joining 3 clubs, I picked 3 pathways. And for our guests, pathway is a syllabus that we follow. It has 5 levels and it takes us through the journey. So it's called a pathway of building our skills. So I joined 3 clubs, picked 3 pathways, and sat at my desk traveling the world. That was almost 4 years ago. And those 3 pathways have all just come to an end. So I finished one in October. This is the second one, visionary communication, and I have 1 speech left and another one. And that's what I'm going to talk to you today about. My journey on doing visionary communication for the last 4 years, how I went from not wanting to be a leader to being the president of this club last year. The way I'm going to split it up is I'll talk about past, present, and future. Just keep it very simple. So in terms of past, the simple question would be, why did I choose visionary communication? A lot of us here are doing different pathways. Anyone doing visionary communication? I think Isha's doing it. Let me ask you, why did you choose it?
To communicate differently and with a more modern emphasis.
Okay, that's great. For me, it was, I was at work. I just started a new job. I work in technology. And the way we've been doing things for 20, 30 years, ever since I've been in IT, is we have developers, they write the code, they give it to people like me, database administrators, we put it into production. There's a whole a system of doing things. But while we're still doing that in this country, Facebook, Netflix, Amazon, they've come in there, all these tech gurus, Silicon Valley, they're doing things in a completely different way. Make things, break things, make things, fail quickly. They're in a totally different world. So when I started at this company, we had a chief technology officer. And probably the second day I was there, he was doing a speech to all the developers, and he had this project Leapfrog, where we're going to leap into the future, and we're going to do things the cloud way with pipelines and technology and GitLab, all these words I never heard of. But when I was watching him, I thought, he's got a vision. He's researched this. He's drunk the potion and he's energized. And now he's spreading this out to everyone because he's going to take us somewhere. And he's left the company now, but that's how we work. 5 years later, that's how the whole company's working. But it started with his vision. So when I saw him, I thought, that's what this pathway is about. It's about visionary communication. Literally had a vision and he communicated it. He dragged us all along. And then another thing at that time I read was that at Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, someone who worked with him, they were close, they said, we're going to a meeting with Mark. And he'll just talk like he's been to the future. He's seen how it is. It's not if, maybe, but he'll talk like he's been to the future and he's just come back to tell us about it. And then we'll come out of there, we know exactly where we're going. There's no doubt about it. So leaders have visions which they can communicate and then bring everyone along with them. So that's why I picked this pathway, because I myself felt like I'm not a leader at all. I don't want to be a leader. I joined Toastmasters because I wanted to speak. show of hands, how many people joined because they want to be better speakers? Which is most of us. How many people joined because they want to be better leaders? I know a few, but majority are speakers. But if you look at this, I mentioned it a few times before, but this is the strap line for Toastmasters on their website as well. Where leaders are made. Doesn't say where speakers are made, yet we joined to be speakers. And I did so this is 5 years ago. I actually finished a pathway just before, presentation mastery, and there was no leadership in that. It was just a keynote speech at the end. So I'd done the speaking side, and I was thinking, so that was my other reason. I thought, this is what I'm weak at. Leadership skills, visionary communication, this could help me. So that's the past. Present. So how did I get to this point? Well, this pathway, the whole point of it is to transform us, to take us on a journey in a structured way so we develop these skills. And the wonderful thing about Toastmasters is it's not, especially for the guests, it's not like going on a weekend course or a 3-day course about speaking at work. And I've done them at work, presentation courses. You know, you learn how to use PowerPoint, you learn how to, a few tips and techniques, then you go back to work and forget it all. Toastmasters is learning by doing. We have to do it. We have to stand up here, make our mistakes, get the feedback, adapt, carry on, try again, learn by doing. So these 5 levels, so each pathway has 5 levels. The first 2 levels are pretty similar, especially for people who are finding their first pathway. The first 2 levels are pretty similar in all of them. They take you through the basic skills, structuring a speech, vocal variety, eye contact, body language. So you have a speech for all of these things, giving feedback, evaluation skills. That's the first 2 levels. But then it gets more interesting. So whichever pathway you're on, level 3, 4, and 5, you're kind of focusing on that. So for me, when I was on level 3, I actually became president of this club, this great club. So just prior to one fan of my work. Well, Rona's president now, so it must have inspired you. And because I became president at that time, it was a great way for me to practice the skills, because the level 3 project, level 3 and 4, was communicate a plan, a bit like my chief technology officer, and communicate the plan and communicate change. So I remember when I became president, I chose to become president. Gordon, first I had a meeting with Gordon. One of the first things he asked me was, what's your vision for the club? I thought, vision? I was just going to turn up. I go, always turn up, wait till the lights are on, people can get in, and I go home again. What else is there? And I thought, oh, vision. So then I went away and thought about it, and my vision, I came back with one word: growth. Growth of us as individuals. That's why we're here. We want to grow as speakers. So maybe in a practical way, everyone goes up at least 1 level in a year. Growth of the committee, you're taking on more responsibilities. So if you're a PR, you can learn more about how to do social media, for example. And growth of the club as a whole. Because every club, we're also ranked by Toastmasters International. So at the end of the year, we get President's Distinguished or Select Distinguished, depending on how many new members we had, how many members went up the levels. So that was growth in all areas. And then the main thing was how to communicate that. How will we keep in touch with the members? We have social media, we have the bi-monthly meetings, emails, and then personal contact as well. So this was Gordon's question, and then with the project, I was able to kind of map it out. So that was great. And then I moved on to level 4 and 5, and what happens then with these pathways, doesn't matter which pathway, it tends to be less about teaching you technical skills, like the vocal variety, body language. It's more about go and do something, go and achieve something, go and do a project, and then come back and talk about it. And those projects can take a bit longer. So project on level 4, one of the projects I took was organizing the speech contest. Organizing it, hosting it. And for anyone here, if you're looking for a project, Toastmasters is actually brilliant for doing these projects as well. If not part of something, as you know, people might be part of a spiritual group or the Boy Scouts or something else where they can do it, but you can also within Toastmasters do projects. So that was one of the big projects in, and then in level 5, which I've just kind of finished, I had to develop a vision for myself. What's my personal vision? And for a few of us who were at Dartis's bar a few weeks ago, I talked about I want to master Indian music or Sikh music, and I brought an instrument. So, and then that was the first speech about kind of the outline of what I want to do, and then the second speech was the details. I've got this year, first 3 months, the instrument, second 3 months, the voice, next 3 months, playing with other people. So, you know, mapping it out, having a strategy, what are the objectives? So learning all these skills, things I probably wouldn't do. I'd think, yeah, I want to learn the instrument, have a lesson every week. And just keep going until I get bored and then stop. But by writing it down, having the vision, announcing it to everyone in the club, you know, so I've learned all these skills. So that was my transformation, past and present. That's what these pathways do. They take us on a journey, we get to do it, we get to practice, get feedback, and that's how we grow. So future, past, present, future. So where am I now? I'm at the point where I'm thinking, do I want to develop my speaking skills? So within Toastmasters, that can involve, like Darren LaCroix, be world champion, go for the competitions, get great mentors, or leadership, like George here. You know, we had a panel a few weeks ago, and he talked about his background. So do I want to go down that road? Because in Toastmasters as well, there's area director, division director, and so on, all the way you become the international president of all 4 million members.
We won't forget your speech because we'll remember being outside. Okay.
For the future, what are my options? It's the same options that we all have. Either go speaking, competitions, become like Darren LaCroix, the world champion, or within Toastmasters, go into leadership positions and become the international president of 4 million people. But for myself, I'm coming up to almost 7 years in the club, and I think the one thing I'm probably lacking in is I learn all these fantastic skills, but I feel like I need to apply them outside of Toastmasters. So I'm just going to have a break now, probably for about 6 months, and I want to just maybe focus on a YouTube channel, because I think we have great content in here, and we've got a great audience today, 10 people, but on YouTube the same content is there forever, and you can get thousands and thousands of views, so the same message can travel. So I want to apply these skills. So in conclusion, I chose visionary communication because I was lacking in leadership skills, and then this whole journey, the pathway has developed these skills in me all the way to being a leader of the club, president. And let me leave you with the final quote from Walt Disney: if you can dream it, you can do it.
Congratulations.